Hashmap Megabytes.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hashmap Megabytes. My name is David Hernser, and today I'm going to take you through a demo of embedding ThoughtSpot Everywhere into a React-based data app, all powered by the Snowflake Cloud Data Platform. So let's get started. All right, when we think of ThoughtSpot, some may think reporting engine, but to me, it's really more of an answer engine. Okay, I stole that verbiage from ThoughtSpot itself, of course, because the term answers is what's created when you perform a search. And notice I said search and not query. So instead of like searching articles, blogs, or websites, ThoughtSpot is searching your data sets. And kind of like we stated before, it puts that search engine look and feel on top of your data. And today I'm going to try to demo the ThoughtSpot Everywhere embedded features. So now ThoughtSpot Everywhere is truly taking the ThoughtSpot functionality. So think tables, charts, vizzes, visualizations, the actual ThoughtSpot search, and even the ThoughtSpot app itself, and be able to embed that in your own application. So ThoughtSpot and the ThoughtSpot Everywhere embeddable features are changing the game in how we get data delivered and how we want to see our answers inside of our own applications. So now what I did for the demo was create a little fictitious React-based application. We already have a few vizzes, and I add them already. And we're going to go ahead and add some more from two different data sources. So one of the data sources is the CAN data set that comes along with ThoughtSpot, and it's a bunch of sales data. And the other data set is some Edgar SEC corp filings that I did. And the Edgar data pretty much is, think about it, corporate filings, so like end of year type things. So think of 10K type documents, right? You're reporting all your corporate filings for end of year. So, and speaking of data sources, when you go into the ThoughtSpot documentation, you're going to see various roles that are referenced. Of course, the primary roles we tend to focus on are the business users and the business analysts. But other roles also come into play here, more like the data engineers, the data experts, and the ThoughtSpot data engineers, right? They have to come in and configure ThoughtSpot to work on top of those data sets. Now, this whole thing is based around all the data being housed inside Snowflake. Snowflake's going to be our power engine, our cloud data platform. And we're going to wrap this all inside of a data app. So let's kind of really quickly define what a data app is. A data app, for the most part, is being able to take all these various pieces of data from different systems, could be streaming systems, whatever it might be, different databases, different warehouses, and being able to put those all in one app so a person with a certain job function can pretty much go to one app to find everything they need to do for their own application, right, for their own part of their what they do. So, all right, and I found that going through this exercise, especially trying to add another data set that I didn't really understand into ThoughtSpot was very beneficial. It kind of taught me how to go through everything more meticulous. You kind of, when stuff is already prepared for you, it's kind of easy to do. When you have to do it yourself, you get to see every single aspect of it. So, I mean, here that's what we do at Hashmap NTT, right? We do a tremendous lot of data engineering. That's kind of the core of what we do. So getting that data set up, curated, and making it useful, that's one aspect. Then also getting into ThoughtSpot and engineering and configuring ThoughtSpot to be able to use that data is a whole other concept. So let's jump right into our demo. All right, so for the demo, we created a connection to Snowflake. Remember, Snowflake is going to be our cloud data platform behind the scenes here. So I already created that connection because it takes a little while to get all the metadata out of Snowflake. And the reason being is because, let me jump over to the connection real quick. When I create the connection, we're not just creating a connection to a database, right? I'm grabbing these four tables that I want to utilize out of there. So a connection in ThoughtSpot is not just a connection to a data source. It's also, hey, what, in this example, what star schema am I going to attach to, right, to try to harness for this searching area. Here we go. So I'm going to go back to Snowflake. I'm going to kind of show you behind the scenes. So here's all the stuff it did. After I made that connection, you can see all the multitude of queries that ThoughtSpot is making behind the scenes to start analyzing this data, getting cardinality, number of nulls, right? All that kind of stuff it does behind the scenes to build that metadata it needs. And you can see inside the database, it's very simple. I have a TS demo database, corp filing schema with a few tables. And I only picked 4 tables out of there. Let's jump back over here. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set these tables up a little bit. Now we're going to use a worksheet for our actual searching. But to use tables inside of a worksheet, I need to go ahead and join those tables together first. And you can see I have 0 joins. And this is because I didn't create any primary keys or foreign keys, any kind of constraints inside the database itself. So let's go ahead and click on these. We're going to do a couple of these just to kind of show you what I'm doing. And then we'll go about setting up, looking at the worksheet and setting everything up. All right, so let's go back here. Whoop. Go back to columns, there we go. And so inside here, you can see right away when I add a connection, it just starts going through all the data and it says, oh, I found an integer. Well, these are IDs. These top two are IDs. So it's up to the kind of the ThoughtSpot data engineer, if you will, to come in and change these back to attributes. Because I'm not going to be doing aggregations on these, right? These are actual ID columns. So let's take these off. And I'm going to go ahead and set this aggregation to none on these columns. And if I was going to do searching just on, if I allowed searching on this table, I would also probably come over here and hide these two columns, right? Because you don't need to see them. And what I'd also do is change the names of everything, right? So inside here, instead of having Y fiscal year, which is the name of the column in the database, I'd probably just have FY. Same thing for this one, maybe RPT val, something like that. Something easier, probably what you would agree on with the business user, right? What they're used to seeing. And we're going to go through a little more of that here in a minute on the worksheet. So now the data, the actual data object looks good, right? The integers are, and the keys are keys. The double, which is my measure, is truly a measure, and we're going to make it use an aggregation default of sum. All looks good. So this one's kind of ready to go, and I could even change the name of this table of how I want to present if I really wanted to. Right? Instead of calling it this, I could just say like yearly reported values, something like that. Make it a prettier name. Again, this gives me, so now this table's set up, but it doesn't allow me still to join to the other tables. I have to go and actually create joins. So it's very simple. You just come in here, and I know right away inside this fact table, I'm joining back to two dimension tables. So this one is the company ID. I'm going to go ahead and join back to company, and I'm going to say the company, and it's a cardinality is a many to one. Create the join. It takes a few seconds. Again, behind the scenes, everything starts working, right? ThoughtSpot starts running queries, analyzing what can be done with this, and creating metadata to help out with the searches. So that's one, and right away you can see it built it. I have one more that's going to come out of this, and that is for the tag. So I'm going to point that back to the tag table, and the tag is just merely in the Edgar data set. Think of a tag as pointing to a value on a form. So somebody submitted a 10K filing and say their common stock value was this, that tag will say common stock value for this form. So it's kind of a way to find that data inside the form. There we go. Hit create join. And this should come back pretty quick. So now for the most part then, if I wanted to use these two tables, or sorry, three tables, I could, right? Because now yearly reported values is pointing back to company. So now I could use company attributes, and I could use value tag attributes as well. I have one more, that's the industry one that I need to do, but I'm not going to do that. And we're going to go through all these. I just wanted to kind of show you a couple of them, because you can see if I went back to, let's go back to industry. If I went back in here, you can see there's 0 joins, right? There's no joins in here. If I look at the columns, and again, they're all still wrong, right? So I'd go in here and change this back to attribute, right? Do the exact same thing I did before, do this data cleanup, or this data object or metadata cleanup. And what I would do though in here, if I was going to let you search on this stuff, and I would probably office and industry, since those are very limited lists, maybe a couple hundred, I would go ahead and say, I want to index everything about it, the whole substring, right? And we're going to show you some of these inside the worksheet as well. There you go, all good. Right? And I would save this off. And again, so I do this and probably change the names of the columns as well, right? I would do this for all of my columns, for all of my tables, and make sure everything's right from a metadata point of view. Then what I would do, when I'm all said and done, I'm going to go to the one we already have created. I would go to my worksheet, which is this one right here, the one we're going to use. And you can see on joins, everything's already done. There we go. And I can even see on my columns, I redid all the column names, right, to be what I wanted. And you can see there's no table references. Everything's just by column. And then now it knows I'm able to choose all these columns. When I created a new worksheet, I was able to choose all these columns because I joined them all together. So now under the hood, right, ThoughtSpot knows, hey, I can go find all these because of the relationships. And I added one more thing here, the synonyms. So I created 2 more synonyms. So what if I had 2 or 3 business users that are using this data set? Right, and running searches on the data set. Only one may know RPTY value. Maybe that's how they term it. The other teams may call it filed value or court filing, right? So I'm going to put those synonyms so no matter what they type, it's going to work for everybody. And they'll be able to type that in, use it, and all goes back to that reported yearly value column in the database. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's jump over to home. And this is, of course, where we start building our searches and finding our answers. So I'm going to come in here, and before I get too far, let's go ahead and jump into our TS demo app to see what we're even supposed to do. So here's a little demo app that I built. Again, this is a React app, and it's running right now. I have it running, my Visual Code is running right now behind the scenes. And I have a few, you can see the ones that are ThoughtSpot. Of course, they say powered by ThoughtSpot at the bottom. And I have a few of them already added, and I'm going to add one. So one's kind of still in development. One of these, we're not sure how we're going to do this yet. So the West region is still being done. Have some assets, and we're going to replace this one. The first thing we're going to do is replace this one. At first, I was going to do some business with the cloud providers, so I went to that corporate filings data, and I said, hey, show me all their current assets for these top cloud providers, right? So I can see we have Google, Amazon, IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle. I can kind of see what they've done over the last couple of years, the last 4 years, their assets, kind of what they're gaining as a company. But I don't need that. I don't really need that anymore. I want to see all the filings by state because I want to kind of focus my areas on the states that make sense. So let's do that. We're going to come back to ThoughtSpot then, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I could use, remember now in our worksheet, I changed a couple synonyms. So I could use RPT, Y value, the one you see pop at the very top. But if I want to, I could also say corp filing, and that does the same thing. And we're going to test this out. So I can do corp filing. I'm going to say I want to see assets current. That's exactly right. And then I want to see by state. And notice if I try to put by state, it's going to give me an error. ThoughtSpot catches this right away. It's saying, hey, you don't have a column or anything out there, a synonym or anything that says state. But you do have a CO state, and that's exactly right. So instead of me having to type all this in and hitting go and having a big error show up on my screen, ThoughtSpot catches it right away before I even start to search. So pretty neat. So yes, I'm going to say by state, CO state. Then I'm going to say go ahead and give me last year. All right, let's hit enter. We're going to run this. And this is exactly what I wanted to see. Not sure about the purple, but hey, that's okay. And you can see when I put in last year, I didn't have to go type in, okay, show me the data between this. I just put last year. So it said, okay, I'm going to go build you a between that says between 1/1 of 2020 to less than 1/1 of 2021. So pretty neat, get the entire year's worth of data. This is great, but it's still kind of hard to view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort this descending so that all of my big players stack up on the left. And there we go. So if I look, I can see, now this is all the assets for a company, right? And this is where the company is based out of. So I can see in California, that's huge, like 1.3 trillion. Next up is Texas, right? You see all, so now I can say, hey, maybe the players I'm going to look at for my marketing campaign or whatever are going to be in these states. All right, so this is exactly what I wanted. I like what I'm seeing. Maybe I want to save the answer, maybe I don't. If I want to save this answer to be used over and over again, I could very much do that. I could come in here and I could say save, and I could type me in an answer name. Let's say, I'm going to say total assets by state last year. Let's do that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save that answer. Now save the answer for me, and I can actually see that answer. Now if I come back over here to answers, I'll be able to actually see that answer. Total assets by state last year, and there we go. I can pull it back. And if I want to pin it, so I have an Edgar pin board, and they're calling them live boards now, but it's still called pin boards in the interface. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it. It just asks me what I want to pin it to. I'm going to go ahead and pin it to that Edgar data set, hit pin, and now it's pinned. If I want to go see it, I can go to my pin board section and go find my, oh, right at the top, Edgar data. There we go. Now I can see the old one that I had on the left and the new one that I just created on the right. All looks good, right? So now, remember, I want to replace that in my app, though. I had that data app, and I want to replace this. I want to embed this in my app. So I can do this two ways. First way I could do it, if kind of the trickier way, is to say, come over here and say copy embedded link. And I can come and take this GUID, this last GUID here is, right here, this last GUID is the actual answer key, and the GUID right in front of it is the pin board it's associated with. I can do that. Or if I really want to kind of see it in action, kind of see how it would look, I can go back to the develop area and kind of test it out. So I can click on visualization, or viz, I'm sorry, I'm saying that word again. I'm going to click on Edgar data, and I'm going to go ahead and choose top assets by state last year. Let's make sure it all, oh, I hit a run down here at the bottom. And you can see there's various things in the JavaScript there on the left that you can set up. And for the demo here today, I didn't do a whole lot. I pretty much just said, hey, whatever I created, just stick it in the app. And let's see how it looks. All right, perfect, exactly how I want it to look. You can kind of see it's like it puts inside of a mocked up application. So all I have to do in my application, I already have my code set up to use ThoughtSpot Everywhere. So I can just take this grid over here, copy it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screens to my visual code here. I'm going to go back, kind of had the wrong names here, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to change this one key inside here. Again, you wouldn't do this in real world, right? You'd have these be part of a configuration mechanism. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, as soon as I hit save and I go back to my report over here in my demo app, look what's going to happen. If I refresh this, as long as I hit save, let's see what we got here. Taking a while. Sorry, my machine's running a little bit slow. Come on, you can do it. And I have my dog barking in the background. He must be excited about something. Man, this is taking a while. So, sorry guys, my machine, I can hear it humming. It's busy right now. All right, there we go. So just now we saw it. We just previously saw the 5 cloud providers, and now we're seeing the new visualization that we just put in. Awesome. That's how fast I can get things in. But I'm still missing one here. I still want to get my West region going. And someone just told me, hey, I went ahead and fixed it. It's all ready to go. So let's go back into ThoughtSpot. I'm going to go back into my pin boards, or let's go to answers. And do I see West over here? No, I see East, but I don't see a West. So one thing we can do is if you create an answer that you like and you're not going to really share it with anyone else, you can just go ahead and add that directly to a pin board. You don't have to save it off. So if I go to my DH cells, this is for me. This is my own pin board here. I can see it's all ready to go. It's exactly what I want. This time I'm going to go ahead and sheet. I'm going to say copy embedded link. And I'm just going to take this GUID from here. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go back to my application. Now behind the scenes, again, I'm going to have to switch screens here so you can see this. I'm just going to go back into my Visual Studio over here. And I'm going to paste that in. But you can see I'm missing my pin board as well, because this is kind of a brand new thing for me. So I'm going to go back real quick. I'm going to grab the other visualization ID for my pin board. I'm going to put that in here as well. All right, I'm going to save that off. And then I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to actually add that control into my code here. So I'm going to say region west, I call it pi, and there we go. Let's hopefully, I don't have prettier turned on, so let's hopefully see if everything compiles. It should. Yay, all done. All right, so let's go back out to my application. And it's loading up right now. You can see it. And there we go, that fast. So here's how fast I can embed things using ThoughtSpot Everywhere, right? They provide that entire toolbox so I can come in here and do whatever I need to do. So if like at this heat map, for example, oops, I was scrolling, my fault. While I do the heat map. So the heat map as well, think about it. If I narrowed my data set down to US-based companies only, but if I did have it to hit the world, right, you'd see it light up all over the place wherever I had data, right? So that's one factor as well. But remember, on this data, I can do whatever I want. I can drill down into this data. I can say, well, show me product type inside Nevada. And there we go. I can say, hey, just show me the underlying data. So I can see the tabular data of what it's looking at. And whenever I'm done, I can just jump right back, and just hit. There, I'm back to where I started before. And the same thing is for all these, which is why they're kind of calling them, live boards or really live visualizations, right? Because I can interact with them. They're not just static, and I can keep digging. Like on this one too, say California. Let's say I want to do the same thing. I want to dig into product type. Even on this tiny viz, I can still go in and look at these things. Say, well, I want to see it ranked. I want to see what my smallest product is, right, by sales. So I can come in here and see, oh, we're having a problem with socks. Maybe we need to do a socks marketing campaign in the West region. So all these things I can find out. And of course, my assets are appearing just correctly. So the last thing I want to show you is one of the most powerful things, I think, is that I can actually embed the entire search mechanism of ThoughtSpot Everywhere. Well, part of the ThoughtSpot Everywhere package, right? I can embed the entire search into my application. Extremely, extremely powerful. So let's do the exact same thing I did before, but this time let's change the name. So I said, I think it was called filed value. Is that what I use? Oh, I messed up. Oh, what did I call it? And I call one of those corp filings. Oh, you know what? I just saw something. I am in the wrong data set. There we go. See, I have two data sets in this. So let's go ahead and choose the right data set. That was good. I caught myself there. There we go. Now I can see all my stuff coming back up. So let's say I want to look at corp file. Oh, there it is. And then what was the other one? I think it was filed value. There we go. So I have a multitude of names that I can use, right, for this. So I have filed value. And again, I want to say the exact same thing. I want to say assets, current, exactly. See, and that's also something about ThoughtSpot. The more you use these attributes, the algorithm gets better and better. The more it'll start shuffling those to the top. And so what did I have? I said by state, that's right. And I said for the last year. Let's just make sure we get apples to apples here. Because now I'm running ThoughtSpot Everywhere inside of my data app. And again, I get the exact same stuff. If I even want to look the same, even inside here, I could go ahead and sort by descending, and I should get the exact same look. Of course, it's green this time, but still 1.33, exact same stuff. So I'm kind of able to say, hey, for my new market, I have California in my west region, right? What else? I have New York over here, so I can kind of look at my east region. I can kind of start figuring out where I want to do my marketing campaign next. So pretty neat. Very impressive. I'm so impressed with how they did things. And again, behind the scenes, this is all running under Snowflake. Everything is running extremely fast. The slowness you saw is really from my machine. Sorry, it's very busy right now. But the great thing about it is all the different avenues within ThoughtSpot that I can utilize. Again, I just want to harp on the development area, the playground that you can do. You can go test everything out. You can even, remember, we talked about things you can embed. I can embed pin boards. That's one of the things I want to do next on this test app is go embed an entire pin board. So create an entire pin board and embed the entire thing. So overall, very impressed. Love the product. Can't wait to use it more.
Hashmap Megabytes.